Good afternoon, everyone. Happy day one of High Point Market. Is everybody excited to be here? Fantastic. So how many people have seen some great product already this morning? Fantastic. And today you're in for a treat. We talk in our office a lot about the three things that make market. One is that great product we just talked about. Two is fantastic networking. This is where you find your friends. You find people who do what you do in a non-competitive situation, and we hope you learn from them while you're here. But the third is why you all are here today, which is fantastic education. We want you to leave High Point having learned something that's going to help you in your business. When you sit back down at your desk, you think, you know what? I'm better off because I went to High Point. And today we have a guest that's going to be very impactful to all of you for the next hour. Today on this stage, this Los Angeles-based interior designer, renowned for his broad range of styles and eclectic yet sophisticated interiors, will talk about his newest book, Star Styles, Interiors of Martyn Bullard. And that's going to be available to you all today after Martyn speaks. We're going to sell the books here on stage, and he will also sign them. So certainly hang out if you want to come see Martyn afterwards, and he'll sign a book for you. I mean, who gets the foreword of your book written by Cher? I mean, that is amazing, right? And that's what you all are in for today. Without further ado, everybody, please help me welcome the amazing Martyn Bullard.
Hello, High Point Market. How is everybody? Thank you so much for coming to see me today. That's fantastic. Market's kind of amazing, right? I've seen all sorts of incredible things already. Anyway, we are going to talk a little bit about my new book, Star Style. So this book is really a culmination of 30 years in this industry. I know, everyone's shocked. Obviously, I started when I was like 6 or something. But it's been a wild journey, an amazing journey, actually. And even though this is my third book, but some of the clients in here I've had for 20 years. Which has been amazing. So why Star Style? Well, I think because I've been based in LA for all of these years, I've ended up having many, many celebrities as my clients. And so I thought I'd dedicate this book, kind of my anniversary book, to that work. But this is actually my own staircase. So this is my current house in Los Angeles that's set up in the hills. And it's kind of an amazing house. It was Andy Warhol's house. It was Tina Turner's house. And it's also been Dennis Hopper's house, who did an actual book on his tenure there from 1962 to 1972, where it appears that everyone that you could imagine was in the house, from the Beatles to, I mean, it's just mad, everybody, to Hell's Angels, the whole lot was happening in there. And so it was built in the 20s, and in that kind of great Mediterranean style that you see a lot of in California. A lot of those architects went on a grand tour. They went and toured all over Europe, and sort of came back and created their own Mediterranean style, which was they sort of gathered, a little bit of Italy, a little bit of Spain, a little bit of Morocco, and sort of threw it all in together and created these fantasy villas. And so I took the idea of that and added a bit more kind of exoticism to my own vibe. I had this poor guy on his back for 3 weeks painting the ceiling. And added a bunch of zilij, which is Moroccan tile work, to the fireplaces. But I mixed it up. I've got a lot of mid-century lighting in there. There's a few antique things. It's sort of a bit of a mix now, a blend of all the things that I love. Because, as designers, our own homes become our experiment pads. a little ode to Andy Warhol there in my living room with 2 of his sunsets. These are amazing because they're all original one-off works. He created 420 sunsets for the Chelsea Hotel in New York, and each one is completely individual. So I love them. They're 2 of my favorite things. This is my TV room, I guess you'd call it, my media room. And I decided that I love Istanbul. I love Turkey and I love Istanbul. It's one of my favorite cities. And great friends of mine, actually, my old assistant, Nebi, ended up marrying the son of the richest man in Turkey. Can you imagine? I've had 3 girls out of my office marry billionaires. I'm still waiting for mine, by the way. Anyway, so when I started to go and visit them in Turkey, I saw lots of these amazing tented rooms that were mostly done in the 19th century. And so I decided to create my own sort of fun tented room with this great Schumacher fabric. And there's my dog. Look at my baby. Oh my God, isn't she gorgeous? Daisy dog. So the cabinetry was designed by Christopher Peacock, but I had him, rather than do his regular doors, we shipped in something called mushrabia, which is a Moroccan screenwork. Actually, it's used throughout the Middle East. It used to be used as dividers from the kind of the men's and women's sections back in the, 18th century. And I had brass paneling put behind it, so it's got this wonderful glow of sort of golden brass and the mushrabia. And then I used all the Zilige tile work again. But the lighting is all from my collection for Corbett, who actually are exhibiting here at High Point. I've got to try and sell some lighting, guys, for God's sake. But I love designing kitchens. I cannot cook to save my life. I can barely make toast. It's a disaster, but I do love it. Some poor lady today tried to sell me a dinner service, and I was like, I have 32 dinner services. 32. Someone needs to arrest me or remove my credit card. And I can't cook a thing. But anyway, I love laying a table. Oh, goodness, whipped past. So my bathroom. As an Englishman, we love a bath. And so this is my beautiful brass bathtub, which I adore. Sometimes when I have parties, I'll fill it with ice and then put champagne in it, and people go upstairs, and I always have a kind of a very cute topless waiter serving caviar. Becomes such a fun spot. I try and keep the waiter there for later. So one of my favorite projects of recent years was with RuPaul. And I've actually known Ru for 20 years. He is the most amazing person. But when the world's most famous drag queen comes to you and says, I give you carte blanche to create my new home, well, obviously you go a little wild. So for Ru loves color. He loves sort of, obviously, fun, camp, wild design. But this house was done in really high Hollywood Regency style, which is that amazing style that kind of developed between the 1930s and 40s in Hollywood with some of the great decorators like Billy Haynes. And the look was adopted by all the sort of movie stars, the very glamorous movie stars of that era. And so that's what we went for with this home. And, I mean, who else can you put 26 disco balls in their living room? Now, the maddest thing with this is that I wanted black disco balls to mix in with these. By the way, the ceilings are 38 feet high, and some of those disco balls, the big ones, are 6 feet round, just to give you a perspective of how big this is. And this is his ballroom, for obvious reasons. And Ru loves to DJ, so in that cabinet over on the right is actually his DJ decks. And all the furniture is on wheels, so he'll go in there, throw on some high heels, push the furniture out the way, and have a dance party. So I wanted black disco balls, and where do you find black disco balls? You just don't. It was so hard. And then one day, one of my assistants went, "Oh look, on eBay, there's somebody selling black disco balls." So we look on eBay, and it's a little lady called Edna, who was in Ohio or Idaho or Hootie Ho, somewhere I've no clue, somewhere really, really a long way away from anywhere. Anyway, this lovely little lady had a disco ball making thing in her back house, outhouse she called it, and she made these little disco balls, and it was, you could pick from 8 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches, and I said to her, darling, I need 6 feet. So anyway, in Hootie Ho, or Hody Hoo, she ended up employing all of the ladies in the little town to glue on mirrors for my disco balls. And obviously, when this was the cover of Architectural Digest, and in fact, this image was the cover, and when that came out, I gave her credit in the magazine. And of course now, this 74-year-old lady has got a raging business gluing on disco balls. So there's Rue's rather divine dining room. Again, looks very tented. There was a great decorator called Elsie de Wolfe, who was sort of the godmother of American decorating, really. And she created this faux painted, tented room in the Petit Trianon, which is the small palace by the side of Versailles that she lived in, I think, just before the Second World War. Anyway, this was an ode to that, which is kind of fun. And there's Rue's favorite color is orange. And so this is his wonderful little office. And it houses all of his Emmys. And he is, which is amazing to think in our day and age, as a drag queen, he is the world's largest winning Emmy holder, which is kind of extraordinary. And so his powder room. So I was like, well, what are we going to do that's going to make your powder room fun? So I went to De Gournay, the fabulous wallpaper company, and we chose this beautiful green silk for the wallpaper. And I said, oh, I'd love to do something interesting that kind of represented Rue. And I looked at Hannah, who's the daughter of the founder, and she was wearing a dress where she had a cameo brooch pinned on it. And I thought, oh my God, cameos, silhouettes. Let's do Rue in all of his different wigs for the wallpaper. So this is all over the side profile of RuPaul with, I think there's 82 of his different wig styles, all of which he's worn on Drag Race. So yeah. And his drag closet. So if you can believe it, this was a 7-bedroom, 22,000 square foot house. It is now a 1-bedroom house with a 5,000 square foot closet. I mean, after all, what the hell is a boy going to do with 3,000 ball gowns? So this is kind of an extraordinary space, and I mean, this is just a very small corner of it, but we added in sort of showcase windows in some of them to display some of his sort of favorite gowns or more famous of all of the gowns. It has an incredible silver mica ceiling that adds to the reflection zone of the whole thing. And then all of these beautiful hardwood floors that are actually now available. I'm going to sell some floors now, boys and girls. They're now available with my line from Du Chateau. They're actually stained rather than painted, these floorboards, and you can create all of your own designs from them. So it's a really wonderful and actually very well priced way to sort of come up with some fun design for the floors. Kylie Jenner. So, God, it was fun designing for a 21-year-old billionaire. Can you imagine? So fabulous. Kylie, well, this was a cover of Architectural Digest, but this is currently the world's biggest viewed interior design story in history. Within 3 days, it got 1.6 billion views. Previously, the largest thing that was viewed internationally was the White House with 600,000. And still, nobody's surpassed the 1.6 billion of this. So it's kind of an extraordinary, 1.8 billion actually, kind of an extraordinary thing. Nothing to do with my decorating, I have to say. It's to do with Kardashian power, but I'm going to claim it anyway. So this is her dining room. And again, it was very, very customized design. So all of her dining chairs, which are kind of in ombre pink leathers, are all exactly custom dyed to the #1 selling colors from her lipstick kits. A wonderful Damien Hirst butterfly artwork on the back wall. And this is her family room. So when I first started to work with her, she was just pregnant with her first baby and wanted to have, somewhere where she could really chill out with the baby, kind of, and cuddle with the baby and rock the baby. So instead of doing a big sofa in this room, I put this enormous, wonderful hanging swing in suede that she would, rock the baby or something or the other. Probably until the baby threw up all over the suede. We're probably going to reupholster it any second. But hey, I loved the commission, so why not? And there she is in her glam room. So for a while there, the glam room became kind of my signature. Everybody wanted a glam room. And in Kylie's, in fact, all of the bulbs have got 3 different settings. You've got a morning, afternoon, evening, so that the lighting is exactly correct to how it would be at that time of day. And everything's customized, all the drawers are customized, for each individual piece of makeup. So it was a really fun thing to do. But weirdly now, my #1 request is a sex room. Yes, nobody wants makeup anymore, they want to have sex. It's absolutely madness. But anyway, it's been kind of fun. I can't tell you who for, but I just did one in black quilted patent leather to look like a Chanel handbag. Yes, we had to gold plate all of the sex toys to look like the hardware of the purses. It was fascinating. My poor 17-year-old intern did not know what to do with a gold-plated dildo. So a little corner of Kylie's handbag closet. Apparently she has $10 million worth of handbags. Isn't that wild? So yeah, super crazy, super mad. And apparently all an investment. Who knew that handbags were going to be an investment? So Kourtney Kardashian. So I don't know if you know, I've decorated for all of the Kardashian-Jenners over the course of the last 10 years. But Kourtney was my first. So I'd known the family for quite a long time. In fact, we'd all been away on vacation together for another client's wedding in Mexico. And when we came back, I was invited to one of their Christmas parties. And Kourtney came up to me and said, I've just bought a new house. I would love for you to come and take a look at it and come up with something a little bit more sophisticated. So we started on this amazing house. And I introduced her sort of to mid-century furniture and to the important mid-century furniture designers, where the furniture becomes like art and really becomes actual, investment pieces. So the desk is actually by Jules Lelieu, and it was made for President Mitterrand. Now, he'd probably be twirling in his grave if he knew a Kardashian was sitting there learning their lines, but whatever. It's a fabulous piece of furniture. And here's her living room. So a lot of kind of Christine Learque furniture mixed in with some Brazilian pieces, Richard Serra artwork. It's a very kind of clean palette. But Kourtney is all about her kids. So every piece of fabric is performance fabric, so that you can literally clean everything and, everybody can jump on everything and do whatever they want everywhere because it's all totally cleanable, which is kind of fantastic. Her dining room, so this is an original set of Pierre Jeanneret chairs and dining table from Chandigarh, and a wonderful Roy Lichtenstein on the wall. Interesting fact, Roy Lichtenstein had his first ever exhibit in Los Angeles in the living room of my house. So this is an amazing girl, Winnie Harlow. So Winnie Harlow has literally changed the face of the modeling industry, reestablished the look of beauty for our generation because she has vitiligo. And she took the drama of her life and from being bullied and all the awful things that happened to her, and has turned herself into one of the highest paid supermodels in the world. And this is her first ever house at 27. And so it was really a super fun project for me because unlike a lot of my clients where, we have big budgets and get to do all these wild things, she didn't. She had quite a small budget. And it was really interesting for me because it kind of got me back to my roots. It got me understanding, how you mix things. You put the high and the low, almost like, wearing a pair of Levi's and a T-shirt from Gap and you put your Hermes belt on your shoes and suddenly it's all happening. So that's exactly what we did here. For instance, her light fixtures came from CB2. The chairs are from Soho Home. The rug was from, I don't know, Loloy or something like that. I mean, everything was kind of quite inexpensive. But then, we spent $40,000 on the brass palm trees. So we kind of did what they do in the movie industry, where they call it light the money shot, where you get a couple of things that are big statements and you make sure they're really seen, and then everything else kind of falls into place. Her dining room, which was kind of, again, a wonderful thing. These chairs, again, were from CB2. They were $600 on sale. And I just recovered them all in different colors of gray ultra suede. So we gave it our own little twist. But it's a wonderful vintage Italian table that I actually bought at Round Top. Anybody here been to Round Top? Oh my God, how fun is that? You get to dress as a cowboy, run around fields with a credit card. I love it. Really fun. I was just there, actually. It was so great. So as kind of a nod to her being a model, I wanted to sort of show fashion. The reason why I used this amazing light fixture is because it looked like a string of Chanel pearls. And so it's kind of a nod to that. And then we added in a lot of great photography. This piece is by a black artist called Bastien Woot, who is amazing. Anybody that loves photography should check him out because he's just been purchased by the Met. And so the work's going to become really valuable. So go buy it now. And there's her bedroom. So we wanted old movie star glamour. And so one of the custom things I did was this giant suede headboard, ultra suede actually, headboard to kind of give it that Art Deco flavor. And then again, the rest of everything else is really, really kind of inexpensive, Main Street brand, items that we mixed in. In fact, the rug, this rug was amazing. This is 3 rugs that we sewed together that came from Target. Yeah, incredible, right? Anyway, really fun. And there she is. Look at her. Isn't she fabulous? So this is her glam room. And she had like, I don't know, something crazy like 5,000 magazine covers. So we went through and I covered 3 of the walls in a bunch of them to kind of make it very much her own. But yeah, she's amazing. Tommy and Dee Hilfiger. So the Hilfigers, I have now done 6 houses for them. And they are, listen, the most amazing thing is to work for a fashion designer because they're used to constant change. They know that they've got to, come up with 3 new collections a year. And so when you get to their home, they're always eager for something new, for something fresh, or for something that has some kind of standard imprint to their brand. So this is in their house in Connecticut that was a very, very beautiful estate, I guess. It looked like a cross between a Normandy chateau and an English country house. And so my original background, from the age of 12, I convinced my dad to rent me a stall in Greenwich Antique Market. And I would take my little bit of pocket money, allowance, you call it here, I guess, and run around in the morning with a torch and look at everybody else's little stalls, and I'd buy some, bits of junk, really, and bring them back and display them on my own stall and wait for unsuspecting American tourists so I could make a profit and tell them a tale. The Queen just had tea out of this teacup, madam. And so that's kind of my background, really, how I got started in all of this, convincing you lot to buy a bunch of crap for a big profit. So that's kind of how I really gained a lot of my knowledge with antiques, and I still love antiques. And that's why this project was really fun, because I got to go wild with a very English kind of look. The rather beautiful rug that's layered on top of the seagrass belonged to the Duke and Duchess of Westminster. It came from their beautiful manoir in the Bois de Boulogne, which is kind of amazing that you think that an abdicated king used to wander around on top of it. Fabric, a rather beautiful fabric from my Schumacher collection. I took inspiration for the ceiling from the staterooms of Hampton Court Palace in England, and we had a great plaster company in New York come and reproduce that for us. But because the house also has a French feel, I added an 18th century French Trumeau fireplace into the mix to keep it kind of mixed but vibing with the architecture. And this is Dee, Tommy's wife, who's also a fashion designer. She has a collection now, shoes and handbags, called Dio Kleppo. She's actually Turkish. And so, again, there was some inspiration with kind of a Turkish vibe in here. I used a company called XL, who are actually Turkish, but represented by Schumacher in the United States. And I used them to hand print this wonderful linen for the walls and the pillows, and all the speakers and everything are hidden behind it, so you get, wonderful sound in this beautiful space. The most amazing thing is that the carpet is 100% cashmere. Yeah, kind of very sexy on the feet. There's the entry hall with this beautiful carved oak fireplace. We collected all of the hunting memorabilia. Funnily enough, I actually bought some of those here at High Point in the antique bit. Is it called Market, that building? Anyway, there's a whole antique area. And I bought some of those here, funnily enough, for this room. Elton John and David Furnish. I have worked on 3 houses for them as well over the years. Elton, he's extraordinary. He's extraordinary. I got to, for the very first apartment I did for them, actually, which was a penthouse in a building called Sierra Towers in LA, I got to travel with him for 3 months on his plane, going to all these different locations for concerts. And we would go shop wherever we were and buy things for the apartment, which was amazing. And that ended up like a little jewel box. It was all these incredible jeweled colors. This house, which is their current house in Los Angeles, is a mid-century house. It's kind of this wonderful, very simple architecture with lots and lots of windows. And they wanted sort of a real 60s, 70s vibe with that. So we have this amazing Vladimir Kagan sofa, which was it was a pair of them. They were the last custom sofas that Vladimir oversaw himself before he died a few years ago. So they're quite special in a way. And then there's a wonderful Willy Rizzo hot pink lacquered table from the 70s that I found in the Paris flea market. All really, to pull the colors out of the art. The rug actually belonged to Andy Warhol, came from the loft in New York. It was actually twice that size that was cut in half, but kind of an amazing little moment. And there's a great Keith Haring sculpture out in the garden. The dining room, it's all strié black lacquer. So 7 layers of lacquer, and then hand-combed, and then sprayed. So you get the combing effect, and then you get the high gloss at the very end of it. Elton is the world's largest private collector of photography and has some of the most important photography in the world. And actually, amazingly, in this room, there are all of these William Egglestons on that back wall. And those are the most rare images, and most of those are worth over $1 million each, which is kind of extraordinary for photography. And here in their bedroom, where again I employed that wonderful reflective silver ceiling, there's more extraordinary photographs. These are by Robert Mapplethorpe, and they're from his Colored Flower series, and again they're extremely rare. And in fact, it's so funny when they're not in town, because they're rarely in LA really. They just really come for the Oscars or if they're recording something. Each one of those photographs has its own little curtain that rolls up from the back and comes down in front, so they're protected from light fading. Wonderful close-up of them. And again, you can see there's a 2nd century BC torso with the great Mapplethorpe photography from the 70s and 80s with another Kagan 60s chair, and then a modern B&B Italia console with a Damien Hirst rock crystal skull. So it's all in the mix. Cappard House, Ireland. So this is a real passion project for me. Like I was saying, my kind of origins are really in antiques, and it's very rare in the life of a decorator that they get to do real restoration projects, especially when you live in LA, La La Land, everything's just sort of thrown together and fantasied up. So this is an amazing, true Georgian house built in 1870 in County Laois in Ireland, which is about an hour outside of Dublin. And my amazing clients, my client bought this for his wife for her 40th birthday because she had a dream that she was Irish in a previous life. So they thought, well, let's buy ourselves a 26-bedroom house in Ireland, just so the dream comes true. But for me, it was my dream come true to decorate something so amazing. So this is the entry hall, and this is all. This is called decoupage. And so this is all wonderful imagery, all taken actually from an 18th century book of Irish scenes and neoclassical sculpture. And back in the day, in the 18th and 19th centuries, genteel ladies would, rather than watching Sex in the City, would stay at home and they would hand cut images out of books, and then they would glue them to the walls and create their own sort of collages. And so there's a very, very beautiful building called Castletown House outside of Dublin. It's one of the most important of the stately homes in Ireland. And they have this amazing room, which I took that as inspiration and had this entry done in the same manner. This is the living room. So it's kind of extraordinary that people in the 21st century want to live in such a grand and elegant way, especially when it's a family that have got a bunch of young kids. But somehow or the other, they love it, and it works, and I mean, they don't use it. They use this house maybe a month a year. But it was incredible. They let me shop all over the world, auction houses, antique stores, literally all over the world, to bring back Irish furniture to Ireland. So almost everything in here is Irish. The paintings, the furniture, and even some of the fabrics were taken from small remnants that we found, and I had them rewoven in Irish factories. The library, which has this beautiful de Gournay wallpaper that was originally created for Yves Saint Laurent, that we had reproduced for here. And rather amazingly, because de Gournay knew that we were shooting it for a magazine, they let me have the wallpaper before they gave it to William and Kate for Kensington Palace. It's amazing what a bit of press will do for you, right? The dining room. So this room was all hand-painted so in Ireland, there are all of these aristocrats, these sort of dukes and lords and things that live in these incredible houses but have absolutely no money. And this was a guy that is the Earl of Ross. And literally, I mean, they can barely keep the roof on of their incredible stately home. But he has now subsidized his living by being an artist. And he came and he stayed here at the house for 2 months and painted this beautiful mural and another room in the house. So it was crazy. At one point, we had 5 impoverished aristocrats working on this house. It was crazy. But it was amazing because they were all passionate about Irish history and loved the fact that somebody was restoring a house. So it was an amazing experience. Plus the fact I learned that most of them work so much better with a big splash of Irish scotch in their coffee in the morning. So this is the new part that we built onto the house. We added this amazing conservatory with 28 feet ceilings to create kind of a bit more of an easy room rather than all those very formal rooms. So this room, when the family there in the summer is fun. They have tea there, they can have breakfast there, and it's a much more kind of easy environment with the rattan furniture and everything. But the kitchen, I love the kitchen. So this kitchen basically looks the way it did in 1870 when it was built. It had the original floor, the original cabinetry. I found this unbelievable Irish table that we found in Los Angeles. It literally, the guy had just bought it in County Leash in Ireland, shipped it to LA. I got it off of his container, put it back on my container and sent it back. And I think it may have even come from the house. Isn't that crazy? So, so a wonderful, wonderful Irish kitchen. And by the way, these Irish houses are freezing cold. And we installed a double Aga. So I don't know if you know about Agas, these English cookers that are kind of historic in a way, but they stay on all the time. You never turn them off. And so literally, this has become not only the heart of the home, because everybody, when it's really cold, gathers in the kitchen, but it literally heats the house. It's kind of amazing. One of the bedrooms, one of the 26 bedrooms, this one's all done in a toile de jouy with a beautiful Irish bed that I found in a local Irish antique store. The Irish Willows chaise, made in 1818 for the Prince Regent for his visit to Ireland. I found that actually in an auction house in Portugal. So it was wild where we brought all these things back from. And now we're in Mexico. Olé. This house was made for the creator of eBay, who had been my previous savior for the disco balls. And it's a rather extraordinary place in Cabo. Most of the rooms are 3-sided with glass, and most of the rooms, all the glass doors open to reveal, the elements. And so I wanted to really give a nod to all of the great Mexican designers from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Lots of people don't realize there was amazing design, mid-century design coming out of Mexico. But just like Brazil, they had these incredible designers. And so a lot of the furniture was either mid-century pieces or pieces that we reproduced from original sort of documentation. I also used a local artist from Mexico City that we brought down, that I had paint all of these sort of Oaxaca embroideries, which was the inspiration, on ceilings to sort of keep the house. I wanted the house to feel very modern, but I also wanted it to have this really fun kind of nod to Mexico, because I believe that the most important thing is sense of place. And especially if you have a second home, you want to know where it is. If it's in Mexico, it should feel Mexican. If it's in the Bahamas, it should feel Bahamian. It should have a sense of place. And that's what I did with bringing in these Oaxacan tapestry looks with the ceilings and things. Some fantastic chairs, also from one of my lines for Harbour Outdoor. This is a corner of the master bedroom, so, or the primary bedroom, I should say now. So in the primary, we had one side that had this amazing kind of meditation area that has a big Buddha that you can't see, that I surrounded to give it privacy with all of these very sculptural, wonderful cactus. And then off to the side of it, there's a steam room and a hot and cold plunge and a sauna. And then the other side is sort of a champagne deck with a big fire pit that has two side things where you can put ice and you can put beer and champagne or whatever you want to drink inside of them. But I used, again, old Mexican blankets that we cut up, and we had them all hand sewn onto the drapery to add these sort of wonderful borders. And, you know, what is a house without a bar, let's face it? And this house has got 7 bars, but this is the tequila bar. So this one was literally just dedicated to tequilas. And it's fun because it's totally round, and it's got, literally there are windows on all 4 sides because it sort of sits out heading into a terrace. And so it's a fun little spot for, you know, pre-dinner drinks and after-dinner drinks and morning drinks. I love doing kids' rooms. So this was a little fun ode to Diego Rivera, who did this wonderful painting using all these different blues in squares and rectangles. And so we kind of took that and modernized the vibe a little bit for this kids' bunk room. I filled it with all these Mexican toys that literally I bought from one of the mercados, the markets in Mexico City. I mean, they were like, you know, $2 each or something, but it was really fun just to go and buy all this stuff. God only knows what it says, any of them, but it looks good, all the little books and things. And now we're in Hawaii. So I'm showing you all these because, you know, as you will have seen, I do not have a style. I refuse to be pigeonholed into one look. That is so boring. I mean, I believe that the day that you stop learning, that you stop challenging yourself, you're dead, or at least your career's over. So for us, it's all about constant reinvention, creating things that are very exclusive to each person's needs, to each person's character. I think the greatest compliment that a designer can ever have is that you walk into the client's house and they go, oh my God, this is so you. Not, this is a Martyn Bullard house, or this is a Michael Smith house, or this is whoever it is. I want them to walk in and go, this is you, this is your house. Then you know you've won. So this house is in Maui, and it is probably the most famous kite surfing house in the world because it's one of the few spots in Maui that you can walk from the beach directly onto your kite surfing, whatever you call it, and kite surf. And so all of these kite surfers from all over the world want to come and stay here. But I designed this staircase to feel like the backbone of a fish. I wanted it to have that experience. And again, it was all about finding local artisans. And I found a man who had worked on the island and worked in koa wood for 55 years. He was 75 years old. His father and grandfather before him had also worked as wood carvers in Hawaii. And his grandson had taken up his grandfather on the other side's career that had been a rope maker. And so one of them carved the staircase and the other one made the rope. So a really wonderful kind of ode to Hawaiian crafts and the beauty that you can get from those generational and inherited craftsmanship. The top of the staircase going up to the living room with all these really cool, again, rope-woven lights is another nod to the crafts of the islands. Because originally, Hawaii, one of their only exports was rope making and basket weaving, long before Hawaiian Tropic came along. So this house has got 12 bedrooms, and each bedroom was given a different color palette. Again, kind of, I wanted everything to have a nod to Hawaii, everything to feel tropical and fun, but we also wanted to keep it feeling kind of modern at the same time, which is why I added all that great modern art for a pop of color. This is, for want of a better use of words, is a Hawaiian sex room. The client wanted I guess it's a tree house on the sand that at night the water came in and you had to swim out to get up there. And it's all very dimly lit and there's sort of very sexy music playing and it's his meditation spot amongst other things. Obviously he's single, this chap. But it's amazing. Again, this was all carved out of koa wood, which is one of the few woods that doesn't rot in the water. And it's actually an incredible thing to go and sit in and have a drink at night and watch the sunset. And there is the sunset. So heading down towards the private beach there, which, I mean, there are no private beaches in Hawaii, but this beach is basically private because the way the return goes, you just literally can't get onto the beach unless you swim onto it. And so we put a giant fire pit out in the middle of the sand and then added grass before you went down to the sand of the ocean, just to give it kind of ambiance. And the client has these amazing parties. He has the Cirque du Soleil come and perform and all sorts of craziness. So it's quite the spot. One of the things that's been amazing with my career is that I've gotten to do a bunch of hotels. So I think from all the TV shows and everything that I did, suddenly, you had all of these hoteliers think, oh, let's get a little bit of that. And so I've been really lucky that I've done that. So this one includes, on the top left, that's the lobby from the Hotel Californian, which is in Santa Barbara. And then next to it is the Prospect, which is in Hollywood, which was built in the 1920s, and it's where a lot of old movie stars used to live originally. Like James Dean lived there, and Greta Garbo lived there, and all sorts of people. The bottom is the Sands Hotel, which is in Palm Springs. It's actually in Indian Wells, which is where all the big tennis community is outside of Palm Springs. And that was decorated to feel a bit like a tennis club of the 50s. And again, there's a restaurant I did in Santa Barbara at the top, one of the fun rooms at the Sands, and then the spa also at the Sands. Lots of fancy. I believe hotels should always be fantastical. I mean, who wants to go to a hotel that looks like your bedroom at home? You know what I mean? You want to have fantasy. You want to feel like you're somewhere. You want sense of place. And so that's why it's so great to do commercial work as well. Somebody's home, maybe 50 people get to see it, a year maybe, family and friends. A hotel, you get 500 people a day. So it's really an amazing place to be able to not only show your work, but to be able to be fantastical with it. Oh my goodness, there she is. Now, I hope I look like that at 76. God knows I've got the number of all of her surgeons, so I intend to. So Cher, oh my God, she has been amazing. I have worked with her for 20 years now. And she is so passionate about design and interiors. I mean, when she would finish her Vegas show, she'd tell me to go over to her house, because she used to fly back because she would get a sore throat staying there overnight. And like at 11:30 at night, I'd go to Cher's house, crawl into bed with her and look at fabric samples. Crazy. That's how passionate she was about the whole design thing. I had to keep getting fabulous pajamas so I looked good in her room. So this is her house in Malibu. If anybody's interested, it's $75 million on the market right now. If you've got a spare $75 million, boys and girls. It's an amazing house because it was designed to look like a Venetian palazzo. And it sits on this incredible promontory looking over the ocean. You could never, ever build it again. And she put in so many palm trees that the city of Malibu banned any more palm trees going in Malibu. And so then she ended up having to buy a school, like donate a school to the city to get away with keeping them. So the house is very dramatic. I mean, Cher has, she's been a star since she was 17. She's lived her life on the stage. And so really and truly, her homes are still like a stage. It's like she wants drama. She wants to come down the staircase, and everybody gasps. So this is an entry hall downstairs where we've got amazing antiqued mirror either end that reflects not only the lighting, but reflects the ocean because the ocean wraps around. And this is the living room. So the living room, again, it was sort of, she likes to call her style a Buddhist behaving badly. So it's kind of a mix of Moroccan, Indonesian, Indian, a little bit of Egyptian. It's got all of this flavor to it. There's all sorts of things that we mixed in. The bed at the end is a 16th century Chinese opium bed. And it's now fitted out with a TV and headphones and a little stereo system. And it's where Cher curls up when she's at home on her own and watches SVU, or whatever it is she watches. But yeah, so she loves that little spot. The ceiling, actually, you can't see very well in this photograph, but the ceiling is all hand-painted using pure gold leaf. So it was all painted with glue, and then the gold leaf was put on it and then pulled away so it left the design. So it looks kind of very aged, but it has this amazing glint to it. And then we used acid on it to take away the high gold sheen, so it looked like it had been there for a couple of 100 years. This is her bedroom, so Cher likes to have bedroom suites. She likes to entertain in her bedroom area, and so she will have a living room, she'll have a bedroom with more seating in it, she has kind of like a spa area, so it's a whole thing that happens. But this is the actual bedroom area, and I don't know if you can see on this, do I have a pointer? Yeah, up here, there is a stencil. So the walls are all covered in a raw silk, and the stencil is, when I first met her, she'd just come back from some sort of Maharaja's wedding in India, and her hands were painted in henna. You know, it's part of the tradition there, they do these henna hands. And she was like, I love this so much, can you find me a pattern like that? And I said, well, no, we'll use that. And so I photographed her hands, we made stencils, and then they were all hand stenciled using coffee and tea grinds onto the silk. So it's kind of eternally got her hand print on it. And the bed, I bought the bed at an MGM backlot auction. You know, so the movie studios sometimes will auction off their props. But it turned out this bed had belonged to Rudolph Valentino, the famous silent movie star's lesbian wife, Natasha Rambova. So Cher loves the idea. She's in Rambova's lesbian love nest. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Star Style. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So we've got like 7 or 8 minutes left. Has anybody got any questions for me? Yes.
Do you still get starstruck anymore?
You know, do I get starstruck anymore was the question. I've worked with so many extraordinary people over the years. You know, yes. I mean, by the way, celebrities, stars are exactly like the rest of us. You know what I mean? They really are. It just, life tends to be a bit more difficult in being able to go down the shops and get, you know, a pint of milk. But once you get to know people, they're exactly the same. I mean, I have to say, the one time I did get starstruck was, so I'm the youngest of 4. I've got 3 older sisters. And my youngest sister is actually 13 years older than me. So I was the real afterthought, or the mistake, or the drunken night. Actually, I'll tell you the truth. So my middle name is Seamus, and I'm actually named after the barman in a pub in Dublin, because my parents got drunk and conceived me in the back room of a pub in Dublin. So yes, so I'm the mistake. Anyway, so my sisters, when I was growing up, you know, I used to, you know, sit there and watch them getting ready to go out with their boyfriends, pulling on their like little tight Olivia Newton-John outfits or whatever it was that was fashionable then. And they always used to play Diana Ross. So one day I get a phone call, and this guy called Chris Cortazzo, who's the #1 real estate broker in California, said, I have a client that has seen my house, meaning his house, and loves it, and would like you to go and look at this house she's about to buy. He said, but I can't tell you who it is, and you know, because you haven't signed NDA. And I was like, fine, whatever. So I show up, I pull up in my car, and then suddenly this really old, weird Buick thing pulls up next to me. And I thought, God, that doesn't look too great. So are they sure they can pay the bills? Anyway, I get out the car and walk over, and as I walk over, the window goes down, and because it's kind of old, the window's going, and suddenly this enormous, like incredible long afro hair comes out the window, huge, like beautiful, like bellowing in the wind. And then this hand goes up and pulls it back, and there is a diamond earring, I swear to you, it was the size of a saucer. And it turned out it was Diana Ross. And anyway, she had borrowed her gardener's car because her car broke down, and she drove herself so she wouldn't be late. And anyway, we started to work together on designing this house and everything. Unfortunately, right before they closed escrow, they found that the house had a terrible mold problem that was going to take 2 years to remediate. And at 77 she was then, she was like, I don't want to wait 3 years to move into a beach house. So we didn't end up working together. But 2 weekends ago, I did get invited to her 80th birthday party. And I did dance with her, and she did sing Baby Love in my ear. So it was all worth it. But yes, I was starstruck by Diana Ross. Yes. Well, you're very important to us. I mean, photography makes or breaks a career. So it's very, very important to as a designer, to create a relationship with a photographer that understands who you are, what you want to put across, and how the client wants to be seen. Because their homes, like I've been so lucky that I've, been published 4,000 times now or something. And I've had the clients that have allowed me to do it. But that's really because they trust you. And so you have to make sure that the photography not only makes them look good, but makes the job look good and makes their brand look good. Because everybody here is a brand. And so, and it does, for instance, both RuPaul and Winnie Harlow have now both got home collection deals because people saw their homes. And they were photographed in the right way, and it was styled in the right way, and it represented who they were. And so photography is so important. I've worked for 15 years with Douglas Friedman, who's an extraordinary photographer. And so we've sort of, kind of grown up together, I guess, in a way, but we know each other so well now that it becomes, even though I do go on all my photo shoots, but I kind of feel like I wouldn't even have to because he would know what I expect, what the client expects, and how we need to do it. But listen, what you do is just as important as what I do, and at the end of the day, almost more so because you're documenting the beauty that we create and make a living out of. And so for me, again, I've been so very, very lucky that I've been so massively published. I have more covers of Architectural Digest than any living decorator. And so I have gotten so much work from that. And that's not just because of my work, it's also because of people like you and the great photography. So thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes. Wow, your projects are like babies. Even though you don't want to admit it, the one you just popped out is your favorite. So I mean, I've just finished Sylvester Stallone's house, which I love right now. I'm so in love with Sylvester Stallone. I was so scared when Rocky calls you, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Jesus. And so within 5 minutes of meeting him, he showed me pictures of himself in the 70s in white leather hot pants and a fur coat to the ground. And I was like, I love you. You're my spirit animal. So I just finished his and Jen, his wife's house in Palm Beach in Florida, and it's really cool. He's extremely smart. He has the most astounding art collection, astounding. Things like, Francis Bacon's, Picasso's, but right the way through to people like Rashid Johnson, like the most edgy, most modern art. He's got a fabulous eye, and he's very wealthy because not only did he write Rocky and Rambo, he produced them, he starred in them. So, and those things have gone on to be these vast, empiric movies. So he's a wealthy man, and he's spent his money very cleverly. And again, he's 76, he looks amazing, he's kind of sexy still. And so that was a really, really great job. But I'm doing Cardi B right now. So I have a feeling that's going to be really fun. Okay, everybody, it's 4 o'clock. It's time to put you all to bed. I guess we're doing a book signing here on the stage in a minute. So if anybody would like a book or to come say hi or come take a photo, whatever, please do. And thank you so much for coming and sharing this with me. Thank you, everybody.